Nothing in this recording is intended as investment advice, and the people in this recording may hold positions in the companies they talk about. Do not make any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to Zak's Traders Cafe. Today I'm joined by Guy Robertson, who's a FD, and by Alwyn Vorster, who is an advisor, former NED at Alien Metals, in fact. How are you today, gents?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning.
Right, I've interviewed Alien quite a few times in the past, but you are two new people. Maybe you can just one of you can give us an outline of where Alien Metals is at the moment.
Perhaps I can sort of give you an introduction. As you know, our key projects are the Hancock iron ore project, and we've recently released a development study in relation to that project, and Alwyn can take us through that in a bit more detail. And then in Pinderi Hills, we have the battery metals project, which is mineral rich for range of minerals, nickel, copper, and platinum group metals, and potentially lithium. And I guess this area has been West Pilbara the subject of renewed focus, given Azure Minerals' recent significant lithium discovery. Alwyn, anything to add to that?
No, I think that summarizes it well. I think leading on to the iron ore focus in the Pilbara, this is elephant country, as you know, Zak. There's more than 1 billion tons per year that are mined from the Pilbara area by the big miners. So our deposit is relatively small, but I think it can pack a big punch in the midst of this iron ore elephant country, and become quite a useful economic contributor to the alien investors.
And of course, the latest funding news means that you're sort of, I suppose, good to go in terms of trying to get a few elephants under your belt, if that's not mixing too many messages.
Yeah, Zak, I might just a brief word on the sort of management changes before we get to funding. And okay. Alwyn has, given that he's extremely busy, and Alien Metals is got an extremely demanding portfolio, has recently sort of stepped back from the board, and but continues as an advisor, we're pleased to say, and happy to have him on board. And we've recently brought on board Rob Mosick, who has a previous history with the Pinderi Hills area, and particularly the Money Platinum project. I believe he introduced Lonman with a $20 million investment into that a number of years back. So we've got the best of both worlds, with Alwyn focusing on iron ore, and Rob Mosick focusing on battery metals in Pinderi Hills. So yeah, absolutely. Recently we put in place a $2 million facility, and I guess we've done that rather than go for a straight capital raise. Our share price is probably at an all-time low, notwithstanding that, of course, the projects, one, haven't changed, and two, we've actually moved them forward over the last year. And we see this funding as a bridge to bringing on joint venture partners in both of these projects. And at the moment we've got a number of proposals on the table for both the iron ore and for the battery metals projects in Pinderi Hills. Alwyn?
Yes, I think Zak, with the iron ore, unlike the big projects by Rio and BHP and so on that take $2, $3, $4 billion to develop, this is, as I said, a relatively smaller project in terms of annual tonnage that we are proposed to develop. But in terms of EBITDA, it can still pack a really big punch. It can contribute $20 to $40 million per annum to the Alien in terms of EBITDA, which in the mining industry often gets valued by investors as 5 to 10 times EBITDA for a market cap. That is more than 10 times the current size of the Alien market capitalization. So great upside. It can be developed, this iron ore project, for $20 to $30 million only. So very, very limited capital. It's mostly contract mining. It's crushing and screening. It's a high-grade ore, gets transported to the port of Port Hedland and exported mainly to China and so on. So very simple concept with great upside, very exciting.
So do you think that, the Alien valuation is still near to £9 million, but the Alien valuation is just the market sort of throwing all explorers into the same into the same bucket, really? It's saying, we don't like explorers, we prefer producers in this environment, and that's it.
It is often the case that with smaller companies that investors frown on multiple projects, and that's why even while I was on the board of Alien, we started deliberately working towards a process whereby we carved out non-core assets, sold some of the overseas assets in Mexico and so on. And this process that Guy was explaining earlier is just part of it, where we are inviting joint venture partners or other forms of contributors to help Alien getting both these projects off the ground, rather than us thinking we need to maintain 100% of all the projects at all times.
And I take it the market's also not factoring in, the experience of the current management. It's probably still looking in the rearview mirror at what may be the history of the company.
Well, I guess Alwyn's track record speaks for itself. Rob Mosick he's got 40 years experience in exploration, and most of it actually in Western Australia. And as I indicated earlier, particular experience in money and battery metals. So I think he's going to provide us with a great input to move that side of the business forward. But as Alwyn said, I think Alien's made a decision that we're not miners. We're not going to fund these projects on our own going forward. And as I said earlier, we've got a number of proposals on the table for both, which are under review.
Well, we look forward to further news. In the meantime, Guy Robertson and Alwyn Vorster, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.